All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're already live. Matangi was just asking that before we go live, we're already live now. So let's start this conversation. Send in your tweets at Trevor Bijat Citizen TV Kenya, hashtag Daybreak. Dr. Tiende Amolo is here, Ariada Member of Parliament, former Vice Chair, DAYBREAK. Dr. Kimani Wamatangi, Kiambu Senator, is also here, Majority Whip. And Dr. Alfred Mutua, Machakos Governor, is also here. Thank you so much. And Honorable Samson Cherargei, Nandi Senator. This is a very odd situation, Dr. Tiende, because today you are the one on the headlines. Standard puzzle of SMS tweet that sank Raila ally, that's what they say. Details emerge on the behind-the-scenes maneuvers and power play that led to the removal of Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo from the powerful House Justice and Legal Affairs Committee by Raila's ODM party, even as political undercurrents threaten to split the party further. Dr. Tiende, did you send a message to Raila Odinga?
You know, first, Trevor, good morning to the viewers and listeners. You know, even at such times, we must greet the viewers. Secondly, I thought you would hear from my colleagues so that then you get the benefit from hearing from me last.
But you're here.
I thought that would be much better because, as you know, I usually don't like to dominate debate. So let's hear from my colleagues their thoughts.
But
then I will speak to all this.
You want them to speculate and you're the one who's here?
Not to speculate. Let them speak. Let them ventilate on this matter. Then I will speak last.
All right, now that you're here, let's do it. Let's start with the Honorable Mutua. Is there a storm in ODM based on what you've seen on these papers? We have the benefit of having the man on the headline here, so he will clarify.
Well, I think I'll address this also as a party leader. Yeah. And as a party leader of Maendeleo Chap, it is important for, and I know it is very important for our party members to basically quote-unquote toe the line when it comes to party decisions. Okay. However, what we are seeing here, and I can't wait for my brother to clarify for us, is we are seeing a sense of intolerance in this country that is coming upon. We've seen it in Jubilee, we saw it in now we are seeing it in ODM, whereby if you exercise any form of not necessarily contrary opinion, but additional ideas to whatever the party is fronting, and you're not into this culture of blind sycophancy, then you're dealt with thoroughly, which is not really good for democracy. I really cannot understand. I want to know from my brother what exactly happened, because we have always taken Raila Odinga to be a Democrat. He's the one who really suffered for this country for many years, locked up because he was fighting for democracy, and he's talked about freedom of expression. He's always out there saying that let people express themselves, let us have contrary ideas. And then I'm reminded of the American adage, not American, I think it was Israeli Prime Minister. Yeah. What was her name? The lady? Prime Minister of Israel in the 70s. Not Golda Meir. Was it Golda Meir? You know, and said that we have to agree to disagree. Yeah. You know, we agree that we've disagreed, but we're able to move on. We don't necessarily have to take stringent action against somebody because of their own personal opinion. But I want to know exactly what happened, because there might have been other intrigues under there. Okay. Finally, is to say that I've been quite impressed by my brother Otiende Amolo. His stance, he's a brilliant lawyer. He's been able to express himself fully. And I think he looked at the BBI, and himself and myself were very big supporters of the BBI. Yeah. And he said, why do we have to take a document that really has problems? And they are minor problems, they are mechanical issues. It's like a vehicle. The vehicle iko sawa, umebeba watoto, lakini umenotice ya kwamba ukikanyaga brake, inaenda kuku, and all you need is just to tighten the brake kidogo. Just the places that have a small problem, constitutional problems. And I think maybe that is the problem, because they wanted to railroad the decision. Okay. It is either take it or leave it. Okay. Either away or no way.
All right. Wamatangi? Are we seeing an increasing political intolerance among these parties?
Well, Trevor, let me first declare interest that one, Otiende Amolo is a personal friend of mine. Yeah. And and also a man I respect a lot. His intellect and his knowledge is above par as far as legal matters are concerned. And I also have to say, when he hears that, I think he's a very rational man when it comes to, approach to issues. Yeah. And so, personally, as a personal friend, I would be very limited to make comments that delve deep into his relationship with his party. And my view is that I believe that if there are issues like the ones that are affected, maybe their relationship, there should be an opportunity, for the man who is accused, for example, and I'm responding to what I'm seeing in the paper because I'm not a member of ODM anyway, and so I'm not privy to the internal working details. But it would be good to accord somebody, the opportunity to probably air their views and respond to accusations if they are there. Yeah. And once that has been done, then you would have a balanced whatever. What I'm reading in the papers is that probably before this decision was taken, Otiende Amolo did not get an opportunity maybe to reach his party boss. And of course, it is important to emphasize that sometimes when there are party positions, as Dr. Mutua has said, that there has to be a convergence of thought and the messaging and so on. If there appears to be either a view that the party may feel that would need to either relook at it, message in the same way, but effectively. And I believe one of the best ways we are going to market our parties moving forward, and the way our democracy is evolving, and our people are getting more enlightened and brighter, is to ensure, one, that there is inclusivity of discussion and different approaches in mind and thinking. And also, when one has a view that is divergent, have all those people sit together, entertain that discussion, and come out with a message, not necessarily one that will only maybe either what one person or a section of that party thinks, but the best decision and approach and messaging that is also going to resonate with the people. Because I think the balance must be found whereby you first look at what is the public mind, what is the public perception of this issue, what is the best approach, and how would we market ourselves as a party that has got an agenda for the future and one that wants to survive. And the reason I'm stressing this is this, Trevor. We have been fast forward on a course where I believe, as we've said here on this show many times, that we'll need to start building, mutating our parties towards, ideals whereby you have a party now that stands for something, that has got ideology, that you be saying that this party has got principles, it's got a philosophy that is enduring. And to market that party that way, as a strong party, whereby politics is blended well with development politics, with futuristic thinking and so on. Then that is the way you have a party that people want to associate with. And I believe from what I've seen with the leader of ODM, and the way they have tried to keep their party moving since the elections. Because one thing that you must give to ODM is this, that at least they are a party that has survived and stayed longer than probably any other party, any recent party other than KANU. And they've been showing signs that probably they're intending to build a party that will last into the future. And that's what I'm saying. I think that would be the best way to look at it. They'll be asking ourselves, we don't want to market ourselves, and I would say the same even for Jubilee, that we don't want to market ourselves as a party that is just here for the cycle. And then the next election we are looking at probably either mutating or rebranding or having another new name. The way to do that, Trevor, in my view, is adapt ideology, adapt policies, have a philosophy that will transcend time and cycles of politics and thinking and events. And I think to do that, broadness of mind has got to be there. And so I think I would be saying to my brother Otiende Amolo that when time avails and there's an opportunity, because it is also good to be heard, and it is also good to sit also with your party leaders, have time, have a discussion with your party leader, and if then there are issues that need to be clarified, clarify them, but and of course express your mind and thought the way you believe is right. In your own view.
All right. Yeah.
Good morning to our viewers and good morning, Trevor. What I can say is that I want to welcome Otiende Amolo to the club of the formers. It is not new, and the club is growing very fast. I've heard the majority whip, Senator Kimani Wamatangi, speaking very well. I always wonder where he has the ear of the president, because what he's speaking is not what is happening in Jubilee. But let's leave it at that. I've seen yesterday when we were having a joint sitting, I had a banter with the ODM national chairman, John Badi, and asked him, why did you have to let go a brilliant mind, a person we saw him in Supreme Court submitting seriously? But John Badi said we didn't, the BBI process is more political. It was not a legal jargon or speaking flawless English, and I found it odd because Otiende Amolo should be a serious asset in the ODM in both rank and file. But it shows that there is probably a upcoming impulsion within the ODM, and probably there could be ODM Asili and ODM the other, because yesterday I also had the opportunity of watching the ODM deputy party leader, my neighbor, Governor Oparanya, yesterday. I think he spoke to one of the media stations in this country yesterday evening. And he says that the deputy party leader is not aware. And he expressed his opinion that the decision to de-whip my brother here is strange to him. And he found it unfortunate and very sad. But what we are seeing in the dailies, and maybe I've been prodding my brother here to show me his SMSs. Of course, we had seen his tweet to show me this SMS that he might have sent to Jacob, but he says maybe after here we can have tea and I'll be able to get the details. But the bottom line is that I did watch, you know, when I heard Otiende has committed a cardinal sin, I went to watch YouTube of the discussions in the lower house when they were submitting the BBI in the National Assembly, and I didn't find anything so dangerous that Otiende amounted to do. It is the only thing, and I think maybe it is that I've seen the Jaka Kimba Silas saying it because he embarrassed the national chairman of ODM by just telling him that keep quiet, you didn't step to a law school, and I think that is the only thief. But of course the ODM is a mass movement. We don't want, and Trevor, I think Jubilee is busy transmitting the intolerance to ODM, especially after handshake. Because this intolerance has happened in Jubilee. You have seen even the courts of law have reinstated the 5 senators that were purportedly being chased out of Jubilee. And therefore, I think there is some level of transmission of intolerance from Jubilee party to ODM. And there is a time that Orengo, and I think at that time of the Senate, I think Kimani Wamatangi was there, that says government its own children. But it's surprising that the opposition is also starting to its own children. So we hope, we want to see all parties to be based on ideology. They should be divergent of opinion. I've seen even the deputy party leader, Governor Oparanya, yesterday said of ODM that the ODM as a party, they respect diversion of opinion. They should disagree to agree. And I hope all is well within the ODM. And I hope my brother will be useful in other forums. If he's even put to Powers and Privileges Committee, or EAC committee, I can see National Cohesion and East Africa Committee. It can also be very good. But I think going forward into the future, I agree with my colleagues that as a party, and I hope the party leader of Maendeleo Chap, Governor Mutua, is taking serious notes that even as he goes to build his party, he should not at some level become intolerant. And you know what is finishing most politicians is what we call political gossip. Where somebody says, you know, I saw Wamatangi and Cherargei taking tea, I saw Otiende taking tea. And you know, if we work not on ideology, then we will be situation. But I want to congratulate Otienda Amolo for making news as for being the headline of the Standard. And of course, I know he'll be making many headlines going into the future.
Dr. Tiende, you know, you sent out a tweet a day before this happened, and you said the vicissitudes of politics. So the schemers want me out of JLAC. I will take it in grace and stride. Did you see this coming?
Yes, I did, and I'll come back to that. But let's start from this. You know, politics has its vicissitudes, and things must change, you know. And vicissitudes is not such big English. I mean, it just means,
these are the things people don't understand when you're kicked out of jail.
It just means the way things change sometimes, like the wind. It blows this way, it blows that way sometimes. 1 year ago, my brother here, Senator Cherege, was a very powerful man. He was the chair of the JLAC committee in Senate. Now he's not. 1 year ago, my brother Matangi was only a member of the Public Accounts Committee of Senate, but now he's in the powerful position of being the chief whip, the majority chief whip. I think 1 year ago, Governor Mutua was only focused on doing a great job in Machakos. But now he is also aspiring for the presidency. So things must change. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, 1 year ago, I was only in one committee, which was the Public Accounts Committee. I am now back in only that one committee. There's nothing wrong with that. You see, service, when you're given a position, it's a privilege. Some of those positions come with benefits, some come without benefits. The opportunity to serve as the vice chair of the JLAC was a responsibility without benefits, contrary to what people think. There's actually no benefit you get as a vice chair. You do not get any distinct office. You do not travel in any better circumstances. You just travel economy like any member of parliament. You do not get any additional allowance for that. But what you do is you have an additional responsibility, both to your party, to parliament, and to your country. If either your party or parliament decides that you are not you are not executing that responsibility the way they want, they have the discretion to remove you. I have no problem with that. The party gave me the opportunity to serve, and they have decided, not so much the party, but some people have decided to remove me. I have no issues, you know. But beyond that, let's be very clear. And Senator Cherege, other than calling National Assembly the lower house, he was right in everything else he said. And we'll come back to that. This is not about the BBI. And I said here last week, because if it was, it would be a different narrative. First of all, we in the committee are very clear. And our recommendation was that the BBI should be passed without amendments, and we explained why. Secondly, if it was about the BBI, and I invite you to look at that report, on the day we adopted it, we were 20 of us. 2 of our colleagues who are of Senator Cherege's persuasion, they said they would not sign, Senator Kangata and my brother KJ Kerry. And they said it's because they don't agree with the conclusion, our recommendation to pass the BBI. All the others signed. In fact, all my colleagues from, now there's Jubilee A, which I think that is where Senator Matangi is, and then Jubilee Tanga. All the members from Jubilee A signed, including my chairman, Muturi Kigano, all of them. If it was about BBI, then you'd be seeing similar action on their side of the political divide. They would have removed my chairman, my then chairman, Muturi Kigano. But you're not seeing that because it's not about BBI. The BBI's recommendation is very clear. And as Senator Cherege says, even my own views on this matter, they are in the public domain. They are in the Hansard of Parliament. They are in, Twitter. They are in YouTube and all that. So it's not about BBI.
What is it about?
No. That's part of the question I'll be asking you to ask those who say the things they're saying. And in the course of that debate, And it is true we had a small tiff with my party leader, John Mbadi. But that is normal in Parliament. It's not a disagreement.
Correct.
You know, I mean, we chip in all the time.
Yes.
As I was speaking and my party leader, John Mbadi, was seated next, and I was explaining a small constitutional law issue, and he kept shouting me down that a constitutional amendment cannot be unconstitutional. Yes. Now, that is a matter of law. And I told him that this is a matter of law, my brother. So when I'm explaining it, just let me explain it, because you've not been to law school. That is a fact. What is wrong with that? You know? My brother Mutua here may not be a lawyer, and he will make good arguments, like my brother Wamatangi. But when it comes to a point of law, at least he will listen, then make a decision. That's how it has to be. Now, let me come to you know, the headlines and all this. This is the art of spin. It's called what? Spin mastering. Yes. I think it's you people who do this kind of thing.
Doctoring is
yes,
word.
Spin doctoring.
Yes.
You know, you try to spin doctor so that you move the issue from what it is to where you want it to go. I have refused, and if you see my comments in the Standard, I've refused to be spinned. I will not be spinned, okay? Because that is just trying to introduce subterfuge and all. It is very simple. One, you must know that I speak to my party leader, and I have no issue with my party leader. Other than being my party leader, he's actually my client. You should know that.
Correct.
You see? So anyone trying to spin, as now they're trying to spin it, that I have an issue with my party leader, to move it from the issue where it was, I will not accept that. And anyone can see beyond this, you know. It is very simple. When the motion was moved in Parliament, it was moved as a motion of removal. And, you know, as Senator Chiregai says, the reasons are stated and they're restated here and all that, you know. How does a motion for removal then mutate into a resignation?
Correct.
Secondly, if it is a resignation, and Chief Whip here knows, it would be a communication from the Speaker. The Speaker will say, I have received a letter of resignation or communication of resignation, and then the party then would take it over. And then what would happen thirdly is that the party organs would meet, not the entire party. It depends on the relevant organ. And they will make a decision on what should be done. Now, you know none of that happened. You know, even as Governor Paranya confirms, the party has never considered that issue. So who you know that the Speaker never considered that issue. You know, at least, Trevor, yourself and anyone who's trying to spin this must at least grant me, the courtesy that if I want to resign, I would know how to resign.
Correct.
I was the ombudsman of this country, and I resigned. I sent a letter of resignation to the president, and even though he did not acknowledge, I made it public, and I proceeded to resign. So at least I know how to resign. So this spin doctoring is one that I will not lend myself to. All I will say is that my views on BBI are clear, and they've been spoken to. I will not go into this spin doctoring. It is true that as early as Sunday, I already knew of those schemes, and that is why I tweeted about it. Those who are scheming did not know that I knew. And that's why, you know, in Parliament, they play funny games. So in the order paper, in the morning of Tuesday, they just put reconstitution of committees. And they knew that at around 6, they would then produce a supplementary order paper that will now have the details. But I had known about it as early as Monday, and that's why I tweeted. And for me, I am not bitter. I take it that I was given the privilege to serve, and I did. I have no issue with my party leader. I allow the schemers to do whatever they want to do. I was elected by the people of Rarieda. It is a privilege to serve them. As long as they allow me that privilege, I will serve them. If the party gives me any other position to serve, I will. If they do not, I am okay with that.
Dr. Tiende, the only way to rectify a spin master is to state things fact one by one. And that's what I want to do. Did you snub a meeting with Raila?
There's no, you know, okay, let me put it this way. I've told you that Raila is also my client, so it becomes very difficult to have this discussion on national television. But let me just tell you clearly that I speak to my party leader all the time. Even on Sunday we spoke. there is no meeting that has been called because, you know, you may or you may not know that we are still trying to allow our party leader time to recover fully from COVID. And there's no meeting that has been called. There's no meeting that I've snubbed. I would not snub a meeting with my party leader. Even if I wanted to snub it as a party leader, I would still go as my client. When your client calls you, you go. So you are trying to draw me to this spinning that for me I think is unnecessary. Because it's only, and I will not go
You're
there.
the only one who can rectify this narrative.
I will not. I've explained to you.
Because you will let the rumor run if you don't clarify.
I have told you that all that is stated there is false. So I do not need to go on them one by one, except the fact that I tweeted. Yes.
The only, and to help Trevor, yes. the only probably affirmation you would make is, do you know why the scheme was schemed? And if you know why it was schemed, you don't want to talk about it. But at least you knew why.
I'm trying to help you to ensure the rumor doesn't.
I would actually benefit from knowing who the schemers are, because other than the person who moved the motion, I don't know the rest of the schemers. But I know they are schemers.
Because the narrative also here is that you sent a message threatening to resign as the vice chair of JLAC.
I've told you that all these are spin mastering to divert the main thing. The main thing is very simple. I have made my views known on BBI in terms of what should be done, how it should be done. It has led to my removal from JLAC for stated reasons. Now, all this is just spin mastering, which we don't need, really. What we need to focus on, as Governor Mutua says, is how do we actually save the little things to be done here and there in terms of the BBI. Look, for example, in my conversation in the National Assembly, I indicated, and it is a fact, that in the bill that is before the National Assembly, there's only one typo, and it is not consequential. It can be amended or it cannot be amended, of course, okay? The one before the Senate has more typos than the one in the National Assembly. So even when the Speaker of the National Assembly says we do not need to amend anything, it is not necessarily true that the Speaker of the Senate should say the same thing, because the consequences are different, you know. So all this, the bottom line is that there are those of us who have been trying to see what can be, to identify the gaps in BBI and see how they can be resolved. And there are those who think that in doing so, then you are trying to sabotage the whole process. And I think that is the bottom line. It is a misunderstanding in terms of purpose.
All right.
But the Speaker of the National Assembly made a ruling that
it cannot be amended.
It cannot be amended, but
is that binding to the Speaker of the Senate also?
But you know, I wanted to clarify. In that ruling, the Speaker was also clarifying that the typos can be corrected by the Speaker.
Absolutely.
That's what he said. He said the typos can be corrected by the Speaker.
Absolutely.
But the amendments that were proposed by those that thought that there should be amendments, the substantive amendments cannot be amended, because that will be against the will, the wish, and the spirit of the promoters of the bill.
Absolutely. And Senator Omatangi on that point, yes. And that's the point I'm making. The Speaker of the National Assembly has made a ruling. And usually once the Speaker makes a ruling, that is the end of that matter. It does not mean that you have to agree with it. Yeah. I agree with the substance of our Speaker's ruling, because that was also my view. The only difference is, in my view, it should be Parliament as a house that makes those changes rather than the Speaker as an individual.
Correct.
That is where I depart from.
Correct.
But of course, he has made the ruling and it is binding. Okay. But in any event, in my view, when it comes to the National Assembly, because we have less to deal with than you in Senate, even if it was not dealt with, it would not be consequential. But that's different from the Senate.
Trevor, I've listened to our distinguished legal expert and our good friend, and he's left me with a few questions. Number one, as you wine and dine with your party leader, you've said you talk to him and you do all these things, and then you're saying this is not his making. Are you really trying to tell us that decisions can be made in ODM without his nod, without him saying yes, go ahead, without him being consulted? That's a question, you know. Does it mean that Raila is no longer in charge of ODM, that others are doing those things? Number two is the issue of schemers. You see, you don't know the schemers. You only know whoever pushed the motion. But you're a smart guy, you know, you're streetwise, you're very well educated. You must know who the schemers are, you know. It'd be good for us to know who the rest of the schemers are, so that we know what is happening in ODM. You know, is there a revolution that is occurring in ODM? There's a takeover that we don't know of. Maybe now that, you know, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is not feeling very well, he's recovering, he's at home, that others are taking advantage of this. And the next one is, I've always wondered, what is the succession plan in ODM, especially from Luo Nyanza? Are they looking at you maybe and they are getting scared by your rising prominence and your ability to connect with Kenyans and your ability to expound your views? Nimeona wamesema uko na kizungu nyingi sana. It seems to be a problem. A lot of maybe kizungu imekuwa nyingi. You're not balancing kizungu and Toluo. And lastly is to say that we always have to, when I see things falling apart, it's not one incident. I don't think it's just the BBI. We saw the story of Bill and Melinda Gates divorcing. You can't say it was one incident. Maybe this has been, you know, it's been, something it's a build-up that has led to this. Maybe there have been other incidents of where you are not, incongruent, you know, with the thinking and maybe the mentality. And I remember there's something you said here where you really opposed the press conference by legislators from Luo Nyanza, which seemed very sycophantic, and you came out and said it did not help matters because it was making BBI look like it's a do or die for Luo Nyanza, whereas it's a national thing. May this also have been, pengine ilikuwa ndio pilipili imeongezwa, na umeongeza chumvi kidogo, na ukaongeza turmeric, na ukaongeza rosemary leaves, maybe hiyo ndio ilikuwa ina vitu zimeongezeka hapo.
Gerard, then we'll let Regine respond.
As he digests, of course, in addition to what Governor Mutua has said is, at some point, I don't know which month, was it last month, him and Senator Orengo were firing salvos against some OP operatives who are being accused of being public civil servants, and they wanted to manage succession plan of President Uhuru. And I agree it might be a build-up of that, and you should be careful, it could come from the OP also. Your tribulations, like some of us have undergone through before. Two things that I wanted to make on the Speaker's ruling. By the way, there are three things I want to correct. One is that the ruling of National Assembly Speaker Muturi is not the ruling of the Senate. And I have seen media misreporting. That when Speaker Muturi rules, he rules on behalf of the National Assembly. There was a misreporting in the dailies and media that Parliament has ruled out amendments. Our Speaker Kenneth Lusaka is yet to make a determination. Myself, Senator Irungo Kangata, Senator Eno Kwambua, we have amendments to the BBI bill, and you have had the version that we have in the, and you know I have been reading both the National Assembly version and the Senate version. In Senate it has more errors and type, and you had our chair of JLAC, my successor, Senator Okongo Mugeni, did raise valid issues as with the version that we have. So by the way, I was shocked by the ruling of Speaker Muturi. You know, Muturi, if you look at his rulings before, he has always fought for parliamentary space in his ruling. But on this one, he was wrong in principle, both in substance and spirit, but he was politically correct. You know, maybe because after 2 terms serving in Parliament, somebody somewhere is lying to him that after he exits as the Speaker, he might land one of the 5 positions that will be created in the expanded national executive. Because you can't say the Speaker can amend typos and grammatical errors, then you don't look at the principle. The question should be even Article 257, and I would have expected in his ruling to tell us the role of a constitutional bill as opposed to an ordinary bill. Does a constitutional bill live the ordinary life of any ordinary bill? Number 2, when you say you want to correct typos and grammatical errors, if, for example, there is a word that was used like shall and you change to may, my learned senior counsel here will tell you it will change the substance of that, that explanation within that article.
Yeah.
So when you look at the ruling of Speaker Muturi, is that it was politically correct, but it's not anchored anywhere. Because I would have expected him, the role of Parliament, as we have insisted before, that the role of Parliament is not salutary in this entire BBI process. We would have expected him to define on what is the role in 256. The Article 94, as I conclude, the legislative power of Parliament has not been limited even in construing the Constitution. Yeah. So when you, an Article 118 where public participation was done, does it mean, and you know there is a ruling I used of Robert Kaguru versus Kiambu Governor in 2013, when the public finance was then challenged in a court of law. Yeah. And the court reasoned that when the public participation should be qualitative and quantitative, and it should inform the policy and the lawmaking process. So at the end of the day, what was the role of this BBI process? So looking at it, I think, and I hope today, I don't know whether today or next week, our speaker will be making a ruling in the amendments that we have. By the way, when you look at the amendments I have, they are very beautiful. Yeah. They are supposed to enrich this document, because I have listened very carefully to what my brother here has been saying, what my colleagues in the floor of the Senate has been saying. I benefited from the wisdom of Senator Kimani Wamatangi when he was submitting, and those are for me. But the bottom line, I know many people are skirting around this issue. I think the elephant in the room is the creation of 70 constituencies. Yeah. And I think that is why we are seeing impulsion within the Luo Nyanza. And that is why you know, I was shocked when Otieno Molo spoke last time, that I have never seen in audience Raila where Luo MPs have issued a press conference. It was shocking to me, because that was very unfortunate. So I think this creation of 70 constituencies, and I know for Kimani Wamatangi it's okay, but in other regions of this country, because let us be honest, out of 70 constituencies, more than 3/4 will go to one region. And what does it mean? When you will be electing a prime minister in National Assembly, it means one region will always benefit from the position of the premier. Where will the Robos go? Where will the Turkanas go? And yet we are talking about inclusivity. Yeah. So the inclusivity issue was never addressed in this BBI, and I'm still looking where, and the supporters, promoters of, since they are friends to Kimani Wamatangi and Otienda Amolo, and of course Governor Mutua has been pushing for consensus and inclusivity, is that I'm still looking for where inclusivity has been addressed with this bill that we have. Okay. But all said and done is that Otienda Amolo, we wish you well, and we are praying for you. We hope you will be useful. You have been, by the way, ODM Asolak he was a committee of experts. So when he speaks, he speaks with a lot of authority. He was ombudsman of this country. He is a seasoned lawyer. He's the only senior counsel in the National Assembly, not 3 like in the Senate. So I think the role that Otienda can still play within National Assembly and ODM as a party and this nation is much more greater. Okay. But I want to advise him in future, you should sometimes hide your ambitions. Even Saila unakatia dem, size ya noma, size yake, you must be careful on the ambitions that you are pushing on. And those words are normally told by Rapture the scientist in the county assembly, what I say.
There were questions asked to you.
You know, can I correct something? And probably the best person to correct it would be Otiende Amolo, because he sat in the joint committee. You know, Cherege, you have said a lot of good things. But I want to dissuade you and ask you to desist from this continued spreading of a lie, because there's no other name other than calling it a lie. There is nowhere in the second schedule, even if you're doing arithmetic, you know, addition using compound, you know, mathematics, that any 3/4 of the 70 additional constituencies are going to one region. Nowhere. That is a political narrative that is that you're pushing to shape some contest that does not exist. That schedule is with you. And Otiende Amolo, you are there. You are the one who was sitting in that committee. Where? Where? In which region? Unless you are saying that we have a new region that has divided Kenya into 2 regions only. Because, you know, the narrative that you've been trying to push, and you're saying that Kimani Wamatangi is going to be happy, is that there are 40 constituencies that are going to go into the Mount Kenya region. I mean, has Mount Kenya region extended up to Eldoret and Kisii? Because the only constituencies additional that are going to, out of 70, that are going to the entire Mount Kenya region are 17. Out of 70. And one principle that should not be forgotten is in the Constitution, the basis of creating and allocating those new constituencies is to match and oblige with the requirement of the Constitution on the population quota. That is the criteria that was used. But those that were looking at it, you know, Trevor, let it be out there in the public domain that people know that the Constitution requires that the quota now that is admissible in law for a constituency is 135,000 Kenyans in a constituency. In a constituency like Ruiru in Kiambu, we have got 500,000 people in one constituency. 500,000. In for your statistics, Cheragay, and those that are in Kiambu County only, as an example, I'll use only Kiambu County. We have got eight constituencies that are way beyond that quota by more than 3 times. And you know what the Constitution allows? It allows you can have the quota plus in a rural constituency plus 30%. Yeah. So we have got 8 that are 135 plus the 30%, 8 of them above, 3 times over. And so if Kiambu was to be, if you had to divide now the population of Kiambu, which is probably now at about 3.4 million, divide that by 135,000, how many constituencies would we be asking for? How many? Would be asking for probably about 18 or 20, you know. And so that logic must be cancelled out. It must be put to where it belongs. Yeah. Indeed, the true argument should be this, that in the creation of the 70 constituencies, indeed there are regions which have a legitimate claim. Where they would be saying that we also deserved another constituency ourselves. And the question that people would be asking is, then would it have been neater to create all the constituencies based on that one consideration? Yeah. Or then would you have done what the proposers from the promoters of the bill thought, that first you consider what are called the protected constituencies, and maybe within a region where you have a protected constituency, then you can balance the two and decide how many you want to create. Okay. You know, because there also that consideration. But otherwise, you know, the argument we are promoting is like the only consideration should have been then everyone who deserved should have just used that arithmetic or mathematical number of 135 and then divide. Okay. If that was so, Cheragay, Nairobi would have been demanding more, almost more than 20-something constituencies. Okay. Kiambu the same. So I just wanted us to agree. I just wanted us to agree that yes, that argument can be made. Okay. But it has got to be made with fun.
Can I correct something that Wamatang is saying? He's saying just one line is that he's saying there was a population quota that was being used in creation of 70 constituencies. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and the IEBC have appeared before the Jailer Committee. They have said there was no parameters that were being followed under Article 89.5. Okay. And there is no justification as to why other regions do not have, like Kitui, do not have a single constituency. Like Nandi, we should be getting 2, but we are getting 1. Yet the population of Kwale is 866,000. Okay. In Nandi is 875,000. So in fact, finally, what I would request is that they need, even if there was creation of 70 constituencies, let us allow IBC to do delimitation of those constituencies according to the features of Article 89.5, so that we don't just, you know, the way they have created 70 constituencies is that just, it is some people sit somewhere and decide that we need 70 constituencies without consideration of the entire country.
All right, I have to take a quick break now. We'll be back, and then I hear from Otiende Amolo and Dr. Mutua on this issue of the constituencies. See you in just a bit.